Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Storied Church podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm so glad you are here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen. If you're new and this is your first time here with us, I really hope you find your time with us meaningful. We would love to meet you and get to know you, and you can find a couple of ways to do that on our website at storiedchurch.org, at storied, S-T-O-R-I-E-D, church.org, or you can find us on social media, and we would love for you to follow us on Instagram and or Facebook at Storied Church. We hope that our sermons and our ruminations are thoughtful and meaningful reflections that help us take our next steps together on our journey. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. My name is Jason. Good to be here with you right now. Today, a little bit different because last Sunday, our sermon didn't record all the way through. And so for you faithful people that want to hear what I preached about last week, here it is. A little different. My jokes probably don't fall in the same way that they do when people are in front of me, but it is what it is. I want to encourage you. Each week, we just started a new sermon series, Building Bridges, making an impact right where you are, and that's what we're talking about today. But each week, we're going to be highlighting for the next few weeks a community leader. And this week, we got to talk and get to know Seneca Rogers, school board member of the Alamance County School Board, and that's on a separate episode of our podcast. And hope after you listen to this that you'll go over there and you'll listen to Seneca and myself's conversation. So for those of you that don't know, our mission as a community, it's a little bit bigger than this, but the end of our mission statement goes like this, is that we want to be a part of making our community more just, whole, and compassionate. And so over the next few weeks, as we participate in this series, Building Bridges, our hope is twofold. Recognize the value of collaborating with community leaders, and also to understand what our role is to play in making our community more just, compassionate, and whole. And not just for ourselves, but for others as well. There is a tendency in so many of us to just think about the impact of decisions that community leaders have on ourselves, and we don't think about the impact that it might have on a separate part of town, a separate population of people. And so that's really something that I want to hone in on during the series. The church culture that I've come out of has in some ways been a solo endeavor to making an impact in the community, an isolated impact that they do certain things. They take mission trips. They have a food pantry, and none of those things are in and of themselves bad. I wouldn't label. I think they're very good things, but sometimes they are owned by that church. They're not collaborative in nature, and the question I want us to delve into is how we might posture ourselves into this collaborative work of making our community more whole, more just, and more compassionate. That this isn't a solo endeavor; it's the work of collaboration, a collective work. And I recognize in our society as well, we live in a compartmentalized society. We like to break things into pieces of like, this is my friend time, this is my family time, this is my sports time, these are my neighbors, my neighbor network. And then we also kind of put service into that bucket, like it's some separate thing of me making a difference in my community, that I put a service in this bucket. And I want us to, over the next few weeks, to reframe how we think about that, and instead to ask ourselves, where is it that we find ourselves? We're at our neighbors' tables, we're at our friends' tables, we're at our families' tables. Where are we at in our workplaces? Many of us find ourselves majority of the week at our work. or we find ourselves at home, and then we find ourselves in these little in-between places of the grocery store and the gas station. And I want us to begin to think about all those places that we find ourselves in our normal rhythms, that serving others, impacting our community, doesn't begin with another thing, but it begins with being present with all the places that we find ourselves. It's not another mission of the church. It's not another activity on your calendar. Where is it you are finding yourself? That is the very place where you can make an impact. Our gospel story today is about a person named Legion. This is Mark chapter 5, whose name was meant that he was demon-possessed by multiple demons. I don't know what your thoughts are on demon possession. Maybe you have a lot of thoughts, maybe you don't. But from my understanding in first century Christianity, that in many ways these people struggled with deep mental illness, and the community's way of dealing with such people was to isolate them, marginalize them to a different part of the community. And this person, Legion, was very disturbed, so much so that the community banished him to the outskirts onto the rocks of the lake, and he harmed himself, and they tried to detain him with the chains, and he would break them. And so he's a very disturbed person, and so people just steered clear and kept him out of the eyesight of the town. And you'll notice something about Jesus. Jesus is always on the move. And Jesus, when he arrives at this place, he is immediately drawn to this man who is disturbed, who is not in his right mind. The very person that everybody else doesn't know what to do with, doesn't know how to deal with, the very person that everybody's trying to avoid, that's the very person that Jesus encounters first. And Jesus has this interaction with this man, and then he casts this demon out of him. And the story is a fun story because the demons go into pigs, and all these pigs run off into the water. I suspect that the miracle isn't so much a moment of the demons going to the pigs. My feelings is that the miracle is that Jesus saw this person, and that this person felt seen, not looked by, not ignored, not avoided, but Jesus directly engaged with this man. And then we're told another part of the story is that the community begins to find out about all the things that are happening, and so then the community comes. And so here's this man that everybody avoided. He's a story of the town. Everybody knows about him but doesn't talk about him. And now the scripture says he's in his right mind. And the community doesn't see him. Yet again, this continuation, like they don't see him, but they see the economic impact that what happened to our pigs. What's going on with our pigs? It's this, as we talked about at the beginning, when we think about local leaders and community impact, when people are making a difference, when we're thinking about elections and what people are voting for, we're oftentimes thinking about how does this impact me? And that's exactly the posture that these people had. Is not the beautiful miracle that Legion is in his right mind. It was, dang, our community is really at a loss because this Jesus guy killed our pigs. So this story continues, and this is where I want us to kind of park our sermon today. It's in this beautiful conversation that Jesus has. Most times, Jesus is always on the move in the Gospels. Most times, when someone is healed by Jesus or the life is changed, they say, "Take me with you." Jesus is like, "Come on, let's go." And particularly this man, it just seems like that should be the case. He's been so harmed by his community. He has been so damaged by his community. He has been so not acknowledged by his community. He seems like a perfect candidate to get him out of this place. And yet for him, Jesus says, the man says to Jesus, "Take me with you." And Jesus tells him to go back to his community and to tell his story of how his life is changed, to go back to his kinfolk, his people, to all the places he finds himself. And his mission is just to tell the story. We so often complicate what it means to make an impact in all the places we find ourselves. And maybe somewhat that's why we like just another place where I can do some good and I don't have to think about that. But it's rather simplistic. It's actually very simplistic. Go to the places right where you are. Look for the people who are passed by, not seen. And to not share God's story, but to share your story of how God has impacted your life and how lasting that has been. This past week, we celebrated teachers at our back to school bash. And we asked on Facebook last week for people to share ways in which teachers have impacted their life positively. And somebody commented on Facebook, "Miss Jarrett taught my class for 6th grade, then moved to 8th grade. When we reached 8th grade to teach us again, super smart, gifted, and kind. She was able to meet each child where he or she was. Taught me grammar so well that I still remember, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, but 60 years ago, that this teacher who just showed up, did her job to the best of her ability, cared deeply for kids right where she was, has made a long-lasting impact." I hope that you might gain from today and as we move forward in this series to think deeply about where you find yourself during the week and to be open to moments where you can make a positive impact. And really the goal, in other words, of this series is to really embody the scope of the prayer that we say each and every week before we leave. That may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world. Or another way to say it, right where you find yourself. Again, we want to thank you for listening today to the Storied Church podcast. We really hope that we get to meet you soon. And again, you can visit us at storiedchurch.org, or you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We hope that you have a wonderful week. Hi, everyone. It's Jason again. And before you go today, I just wanted to take one moment of your time. Maybe you are a regular attender at Storied Church, or somebody that has found our podcast and you're just listening and you find it valuable. I just want to ask a huge favor. Our church is located in North Carolina, Alamance County, and we are one of the only open and affirming, reconciling, progressive, whatever word you want to label on that church here in Alamance County. And so we're just a really important voice of hope in this place. Every organization, including ours, takes funding, and the church has changed, and so we're trying to be creative in our funding. But I know it's a different ask, that especially if you don't live here in North Carolina. But if you would support us or consider supporting us with a one-time gift or even a monthly gift, it would mean the world. And thank you so much for even considering. You can give by going to storiedchurch.org/give. I hope you do. We would love your partnership and your friendship. Thanks again.